Keep your hand on the console for 30 seconds.
In this game, you're exploring a location that has been transferring consciousness to different bodies. You have no memory of who you are and are also embodied with another person who guides you along the adventure. The game requires 2 move controllers to play and there is smooth movement. It's unfortunate that we still have to praise these options so long into the PSVR's lifespan, but hopefully it will let other developers know that most players want smooth movement and smooth turning. You can still teleport whenever you want though, which is useful when you need to get away from enemies quickly, but it does come with a downside, as you can twist the move controller to make yourself face a different direction after you have teleported. This setup would be a good idea for a puzzle game or one that is slower paced, but here because of the intensity, you often end up facing in the direction you didn't intend. It can be disorientating. The game can just be played seated, although you will have a much easier time while stood. Pistols are hard to reach from your belt while seated, so the first level or so can be a bit tricky whilst in this position. But all the other guns are quite large and are easily reachable, so seated becomes a bit easier later on. To reload you must swipe your gun over your belt and grenades can be placed and retrieved from your vest. Grenades are awkward to throw though, and often don't go where you want them to. There is some other minor interaction to be had in the world too. Levers and hand scanners make an appearance, as well as some easy puzzles, such as powering up a machine by inserting the correct coloured leads. They're never too tough to solve, the main focus here is the action, but unfortunately, that part of the game is let down by the weak AI. Some melee you, and some shoot at you. Most are not too tough to take down, as shooting them interrupts their attacks. It does make combat a bit dull. Other enemy types do appear, such as plant types, but the issue here is that they often start shooting in your direction before you even come into view. It's very frustrating, especially if you are low on health. Ammo and health is dropped from enemies and is also found around the world. It is pretty limited at times, which can make it feel a bit like a survival game. I love the hunt for consumables in VR games, as it demands that you search for virtual world more, but here the ammo is unbalanced in places, and you end up with nothing but a melee weapon, which makes some encounters very difficult. Reloading from the start of a level could be required in these moments. The only thing that really kept me going was exploring the world. The locations do change up quite a bit, and every so often some creepy scenes do take place. It's certainly the strongest part of the game, although the game does have pretty blurry graphics. Luckily most of the game takes place in closed areas, which always makes the depth a bit better, but it still isn't that sharp at all. Immersion wise, the enemies do hurt that aspect too. Their death animations are simple, and some can still be heard after they die, which can cause some confusing moments, especially considering some enemies simply spawn into the world. If you hear something behind you, you may think one has spawned, which sometimes just isn't the case. The game also includes a swarm mode, where endless waves of enemies must be killed. You can play on 4 maps, and new weapons unlock the longer you survive. Considering the poor AI, it's just not that thrilling to play. This mode is a nice little extra addition, but you do need strong AI to make these arena type fights worthwhile. This game released at a pretty bad time, as recently I've played a lot of very high quality games, so it only made the negatives here stronger. One of the games I recently reviewed was based around survival elements too, where you have limited ammo and health, so it being unbalanced here and demanding me to restart a level was obviously frustrating. Exploring each location is the best bit about this game. It was the one thing that urged me to play on a lot of the time, but I must admit, in the end, I stopped playing about 3/4 of the way into the game, as it became apparent that certain parts were not playtested properly, like when I died and it placed me back at the start of a level. Enemies didn't spawn again, and I had to teleport through a scripted lock gate to get back to the action. Overall, I do appreciate the work that has gone into this game, and at times, it can be somewhat enjoyable. This is one of them games that does have a lot of potential, so I do hope we see some patches for it in the future. It's at a pretty cheap price too, for a proper single player FPS experience, but it just needs polishing in a lot of places to make it the best it possibly can be.
Scan complete.
Now we're good to go.
If these negatives are addressed in a future patch, this really could be a great game, and would be worth checking out. As always, if you found this review helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe for more PSVR content.